Morning, everybody. So we're doing roofing today. Underneath the roofing, we've got ice and water shield. It's sticky, sticks to the sheathing on the roof, and it gets overlapped in an order from like highest to lowest. So we put the bottom piece, the piece down there, on first, and then the next piece overlaps it by a few inches, and then the next piece overlaps it by a few inches. And that makes sure that the rain that's falling up here, if there is any, there's no seams for it to get trapped underneath the metal roofing, and because the roof angles down like that, so that's the way the water will flow. Then we did a piece of roof flashing, which looks like this on the low side, and it just goes all the way across, and you pre-drill pilot holes, and then you screw it in. So that goes on before the metal roofing. And then we start on one end, and we go all the way down with the metal roofing pieces, which are 16 inches on center. And you drill pilot holes. No, you don't drill pilot holes in each piece. They actually come pre-drilled. And what's drilled down is actually covered up by these metal peaks. So underneath this, there are holes, and then we drilled straight down with screws that are flush to the surface of the roof. So we went as far as we could, and we still don't have the skylight flashing. It's just the guy at Par is not good at his job. Went on vacation. I don't know, all kinds of things. Didn't give us the flashing. So we can't keep going until we get the skylight flashing, but we did as much of the roof as we could. And then the next piece is this end cap flashing on the short side. So we pre-drilled these holes 24 inches apart, and have these sort of hex nut screws that go in and go into the fascia underneath. And this piece gets cut flush with that end and with this end here. And then on that end, the piece of the roof flashing that's on the lower side of the roof that goes all the way across like that actually curves around and overlaps underneath this piece of flashing. And then the piece up here on top that we haven't put on yet, that we can't put on until we finish the roof, that will overlap on the outside of this side piece. And that'll be the roof. I think we're going to finish today if we can get the skylight flashing together. We finished the roof today, so we have technically finished the exterior of the house almost completely. I'm missing 3 pieces of trim that are currently being painted, and one of them needs a second coat. Then they'll go back around the door, and the door needs to be finished. But that's it. The whole exterior of the house is built. We did it in roughly 170 hours. We worked 12 to 15 hour days for 2 weeks and 1 day. And it was a hell of a lot of work. But I'm going to show people what we did this last day and move on from there. So we finished out the skylight. There's a lot of layers of flashing and metal around this skylight. I do not really understand what's going on here. I would say the only thing that I really got was that we cut a piece of panel out to fit around ultimately. And then there are 2 shorter pieces from the roof edge to, to right about here, maybe up higher, I don't know. And it just, there's so many layers and different puzzle pieces, and I don't know what's going on, but whatever. So, as I said earlier today, we did the piece of flashing that goes on this side of the house first, the lower side of the house. So that's this guy. And then we did the piece that goes over on the short side. So we did one here, and we screwed it in on top, although we should have had different screws, but the people who were delivering roofing were just did not get it. So we've got flashing coming over the side, and it goes all the way down to the end and goes all the way up. And remember, the flashing on the bottom edge wraps around the side of the house, and so we cut out a piece like that. So we did the same thing on the other side over there. And then the final piece, after we got all the roofing done, was this front piece of flashing that overlaps and goes over the top of everything. So it's like kind of a mini roof for the roof. And there's 2 pieces. They go all the way down. They're screwed into the fascia on the outside, and they also wrap around the edge just a little bit for multiple layers of water protection. So until I start putting more holes in the roof for like a chimney or solar panels, we're pretty waterproofed. Like, we're good, which is cool. I really like my roof. I was excited to work on it today, and I think in terms of what's been my favorite part of the whole process, seeing the roof all go on in one day has been really cool. Yeah. So my electrician came to install electric and plumbing today, and he drove his car down this driveway despite me frantically waving at him to stop, and despite us telling him the last time he came out here to check the house out not to drive down this driveway. And now he's stuck in the mud pit that is this driveway, and we are pulling him out with the tractor. And is this a winch?
Pulley.
And a pulley. So Kate's driving the tractor, and this is our 3rd attempt at getting him out. Maybe we'll get him out this time. It's been a really exciting day. Not a lot of electricity has happened. Here we go. I kind of, whatever, I don't care. He can hit the log. His car is not, he didn't care about his car.
Stop.
We can move all this wood. Let's move the wood, then he'll be able to get out. Oh, hang on. Okay, we moved the wood, and we're gonna try again. It's gonna happen. It's fine. Whatever. Okay. We got the car out, I think. And we're out. Thank God. Morning, everybody. It's 7:37, and I can't use power tools until 8 a.m. I don't know what to do with myself. Yesterday, we put in the electric, some of the electric, after we got Marion unstuck from the road. So, you can see, there are wires and cords up everywhere. The yellow is 110 volt, and the black and red is 12 volt. Most of the house is going to be wired for 12 volt. I keep throwing curveballs at Marion, and he just keeps rolling with them, so God bless him. I'm like, what if I had a heated floor? And he's like, we can do that. It's kind of an interesting process to map out where exactly I want all my light switches and outlets to be, and to imagine the interior structure of the house without the structure actually being built. We're going to try to get a little bit more work done here than originally planned, like frame out the loft to assist in the stringing up of the ceiling lights underneath the loft. So I might be going to Home Depot today to buy a bunch of lumber with Kate. I'm trying to stack functions here this morning. I got the trim back up yesterday and put the screws in and then filled the holes with putty, and now I need to sand it and paint it. I need to do another coat of polyurethane on the door. I've got all of my paint stuff out and ready to go, and I don't want to do it yet because I've got these trim pieces to paint. And if the box is all ready to go and finish, which it's of course nowhere near, and I can't work on it until I can use power tools, then I can put the trim on, and then I can screw the trim on, and then I can fill the holes with putty, and then I can paint, and I can do all of that in like 15, 20 minutes or so versus having to do multiple rounds of opening up the paint and closing the paint and starting and stopping and blah, blah, blah. So, it's frustrating, but we're going to get through it. Chewy says hi. So I'm still working on this tongue box, and this morning I framed out the shelf. So I cut 4 of these 2x4s to fit in the back, and they're like 16 and an eighth, I think. And then I used a 4x4 in the very back. And I've got these 1x2s framing out going on top of my 2x4s and my 4x4s just to provide extra support for these shelves just in case something really heavy goes on here. I didn't bother with cutting out all the way to the wall, so in a sense I lose a little bit of space, although I could probably just put some kind of like big thing that tucks into the back that overlaps with the bottom of the shelf a little bit, sticks out into empty space. It doesn't fall because there's walls there. Did a lot of screwing. I cut some notches out for the 2x4s. Did some staples. I don't think those staples are doing anything, but these shelves are not going anywhere. And then I worked on waterproofing the outside. So there is a lot of waterproofing layers. The first thing I did is put some flashing tape on the corners, and you can see the flashing tape there, and there's more on the peak up there, which you can't see because it's under everything. And that's just because this box is not super airtight. I also did a second layer of roof. So here's a layer, and now here's a layer, and so I have like 5 inches of eave going around the outside, which is just an additional layer of rain protection. Kate pointed out after I did this that if I was going fast enough in this house, the roof would lift off and the house would launch into space with eaves like that. But because this little tiny tongue box is going to be behind a big truck, probably there's not going to be a whole lot of flying house Kansas trips. I then wrapped the whole house in housing wrap on the corners. It's not necessary to put it on the roof. I just had a lot of extra, so I did, and hopefully it's fine. It's not really designed for flat surfaces. I have multiple layers. The only place I kind of fucked up is that this seam should actually be underneath the other 2, but these go almost all the way down, and I just had this like little patch of wood exposed that I wanted to cover, so it's probably okay. Then I did the roofing underlayment. This is a piece of scrap that Richard gave me. Thank you, Richard. I have cut it to shreds. It's all over the place. I'm not done yet. So I've stapled that down. It wraps all the way around the back. They're pretty good, like, amount of waterproofing on this little tongue box. I think it's going to be waterproof. The next step will be to try to make my own flashing, basically, because we don't have enough scrap flashing. So I'm gonna screw down a piece of leftover roof, this piece here, and then I'm gonna bend it so that it looks like the piece of flashing that's on the edge of my roof there, and see how that goes. Yeah. So Kate proposed to me today.
I did. It was the most unromantic thing ever. I was like, we should totally tie the knot and buy property.
Will you be my tax loophole?
Yes, it was to get more money from the VA and to be able to get the VA mortgage thing. She didn't even go down on one knee.
No, I didn't.
There wasn't a ring?
That would be completely out of character. I don't believe in rings. What, you want a fucking blood diamond? You want a fucking blood diamond? Is that what you're asking? This is over.
Maybe like a rock? Like an actual rock.
Oh, I could do it like a penguin.
Shiny rock?
I could do it like...
Yes! Like a penguin.
Right? Well, I told you I was going to do the mating dances and show
Yes.
off all my tools. Like all...
Kate's gonna peacock for me by doing that. Do that again? This is going to convince me to marry her. She's also told me to play hard to get. So
I did until the old lady kicks the bucket.
So I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Morale is low. I burned my hand today with hot tea, and so I have been sticking it in and out of a bowl of water all day. It's miserable. It hurts right now. I am waking up at 5 a.m. from allergies. I'm on so much medication. It's ridiculous. And the rain has made it so we can't move this thing out of here until the 18th, probably. Been working on a box. I got all of the flashing on. 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, and this is a lie, blue fish. It's not actually on. I have to cut the siding out behind it, down all the way. We'll put another piece of trim on so it matches and looks nice, and then we'll scoot the box up against the back and screw it into the studs, bolt it into the tongue. I'm going to replace this piece with a single piece that looks nice because I got some more lumber today. Hi, Chewy. Hi, Chewy Princess. So I'll paint that black and I'll put it on and I'll make it look pretty. The door pops in and out. Boom. Like that. So I'll have a couple of these. Stay. Whatever, don't stay. See if I can. And then I'll screw some plywood on there. And then there will be a wood burning design that Annalila's working on the front. We've got electric. We've got a mess. We've got a 3-way switch going up to the loft. We've got switches for vent fans. We've got, not vent fans, for lights. We've got outlets. We've got outlets. We've got outlets. We've got wires for more lighting. We've got wires for the propane on-demand hot water heater, which will go here. We've got an outlet in the loft. And we've got wires going up for lighting that will be in the ceiling up there. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. I don't really understand what's going on with my electricity. I've kind of resigned myself to not knowing because I'm just so exhausted and my hand hurts so much. I did sleep in the tiny house a couple of nights ago. Chewy has absconded with all of the sleeping materials and turned them into mud. So that's been great. Thanks, Chewy. Wow, you guys. Wow. I have packed up the house, ready for it to be moved. All that is the wool insulation in the back and random scrap materials and all the boxes and stuff of leftover things that have to be moved and tools. I framed out this second storage loft a couple of days ago by myself. It's a little wonky because it wasn't tied into that vertical stud on the side because I couldn't figure out how the brackets worked on an edge. Now I understand, but I don't know if I'll redo it or not. So I put that intermediate blocking out so I could attach trim to the outside of it. That might be fine. It's not designed for sleeping or anything. It's just storage, so it doesn't have to be as like amazing as the sleeping loft. We have one rotary switch in for the Lunos. And the last thing we did a couple of days ago was we installed the bathroom exhaust fan. It's not wired up yet, but it is installed. So there's now a hole in the back there above the window. But yeah, there will be more to do later. We've got an external 30 amp. I locked this, so I won't undo it, but this is all good to go, and I can connect like an RV to shore power on this side, and then I gotta do a little cleanup on the trim. I don't know if I like that. I might take it off. I might frame out some kind of little boxy roof thing in a little bit higher quality kind of way. The locks I bought still aren't working for this, so I just used some spare electrical wiring to tie it together for now, and then I put this other lock on the front, and that seems to be working just fine. Picking up all the scraps, cleaning up a little bit, and then the last thing I'll do is I'll shut this door and then I'll screw a piece on the outside into the frame to keep it shut. while it all moves. And then it'll move tomorrow, I hope. Just to give you a sense of like what it's going to take. Here's the trailer tongue, and here's the road this thing has to go up. We also have to move all this lumber. And also that trailer up there has to move. And like, this road has just been a wet, muddy bog for weeks. So we'll see. Elliot thinks we can do it with 2 tractors. And then this is where the Quonset hut is going to go. That will be Kate's wood shop. And up here is the yurt site for Kate's yurt. A lot of work has been done since I came here and made the first video where I showed where the kitchen stuff was going to be. So Kate has spent a lot of time soaking logs in some kind of petroleum product designed to help them be non-permeable to water for her retaining wall. So that's where the retaining wall will go. The ground is all level and there's like cement blocks buried underneath so she can put posts in, and that's part of the lumber for the framing of her house. And pretty much it. Hopefully everything goes without incident and I get to move out of here tomorrow. Now have 2 tractors to pull the house out. Okay, you're just spinning. You're totally off the ground, Elliot. We've called a pro, and we're now winching the tractor up, and the tractor is attached to the house. This is like attempt 10 or 11 with moving this damn thing. The person operating the winch is controlling the tractor via tension on the right or left cables, which are attached to the front of the tractor on 2 different sides. And Elliot is sitting there in neutral, just vaguely steering the tractor. He's not really even doing anything. But the tractor hasn't been able to get any traction in the mud the entire time we've been doing this, because the road's just been so wet. So I'm glad to have called a professional, and Curtis seems like he really knows what he's doing, and we're gonna get this house out of here today. We're finally able to drive the tractor with the house up the hill. Finally, after 2 days and like a bunch of different tries, it's gonna come out of this mud pit. That's the hill we came up. Holy shit. Holy shit, you guys. My house is gonna be free. Elliot, don't hurt yourself. Fuck. I didn't record any of that. We have to do it again.
That was nothing? You didn't hit record?
Okay, I forgot to hit record. After 2 days and I don't know how many attempts at moving this house out of the mud pit that it was in, and hiring a professional towing company and paying $500 and winching 2 tractors and the house out of the mud pits, we are finally on the road. Kate is driving, no hands. Joseph for the assist. Mr. Biggs for moral support. And back there is a house, you guys. Holy shit. Holy shit.